have a lot of questions, but what seems to be most predominant is like wanting to understand you, wanting to understand Abraham and what you are, and the way that I see you, and the way I see, like if I was to paint a picture of Abraham, like what would you look like, you know?
All of you. What do you think the reason is that you want to understand us, who we are, where we come from? Do you need to justify us to yourself in some way? Do you have beliefs that you're trying to overcome? You're trying to get us to fit in some other model of something, in other words? So,
No.
Because we're really not that important to your equation. We are teachers who understand how the laws of the universe work. And we're teachers who know that you can be or do or have anything that you desire. And we know your value and your worthiness. We know all of those things. But your relationship to the universe and to your inner being, to that which you want to call God, that's what matters. And what we are is maybe an avenue to your consciousness to help you to realize some things that you've always known. But we are not essential to your equation, other than that we are representative of and part of that source energy that you are wanting to flow to you and through you. We could spend a lot of time defining us and quantifying us, but it would be of so much less value to you than other things that you could talk about. So why do you think that's important to you?
In the work I do. I see clients and I work in energy healing, and in my sessions, I have so many different experiences.
Because you have been in different receptive modes. Sometimes there's a little resistance in your receptive mode, so what you receive comes out one way, and sometimes there's no resistance, and sometimes there's plenty of resistance. Again, it's about you, not about us.
Yeah, yes.
When Esther first began this, many, many years ago, people would come to her and they'd say, you need to offer prayers of protection because there's stuff out there that could get you. And Esther said to us, Abraham, do I need to offer prayers of protection? We said, well, now you do. Now you got that thought activated. When you become someone who can read energy, think of that as like reading a book. And you could go to a bookstore or a library and you could pick up a lot of things and read them. Some things would be more beneficial for you to read than others. And so our encouragement is that you realize that source energy is flowing and that you have access to it. And let your attention be in any moment, because it's not something that you can accomplish and maintain forevermore. Be aware in the moment of how you feel and just reach for the best feeling thoughts that you can, and then pay attention to what happens next. Yes? Yes, that makes sense. I think I'm trying to make sense of different things that I see, so I have some clients, I'm trying to make sense of like, and this might sound so weird, but I have some clients and it seems very, like I might see his grandfather, or I might see angels or things like that. And then I have other clients and I see things like alien, extraterrestrial type stuff. and sometimes when I am in the session, it makes sense to me. I'm having this experience and it makes sense. But then when the day is over and I've had these different experiences, I am really hungry and I just am really tired and I'm trying to understand all of it. And it'll seem like it makes sense to the clients as well when I'm in these moments. Remember earlier when we were talking about what you are energetically or vibrationally bringing to the table? Have you noticed that sometimes when you're visiting with someone and wanting to help them in some way, some of them, your thoughts are just clear and it's so easy for things to flow, and others, it's more difficult? Well, it has to do mostly with what your receptive mode is about. But in your receptive mode, you're also picking up on what's going on with them. And so the thing that we would encourage you to focus upon, and there's no right or wrong in this, just be playful about it and enjoy it as it unfolds. But these are the things that if we were standing in your physical shoes and doing the work that you're choosing to do, and it's good, we would be clear about our alignment. We would make sure that we are rested enough, and we would make sure that we are in that clear space where we don't have resistance. Take time to meditate and make sure that you're in that clear place so that your receptive mode is where you want it to be. And then stand in that readiness and that willingness to translate for another. But remember, you're not wanting to create their experience. You might want to be helping them along to understand something more. But depending upon where they are, some of them are in a vibrational place where they can't receive this. And you don't want to move to a place just to make it possible for them to receive. Do you understand what we mean?
Maybe explain a little more.
The reason that you're asking about us is because you're wanting to tap into this pure positive energy, and you're wanting to relay as much of this pure positive energy to another one that you can. We want to stimulate your thought on this concept. Do you accept that everyone has non-physical energy that is supporting them and backing them up? Do you accept that everyone is an extension of that? And do you accept that that non-physical energy is pure positive energy? That's where your question came from. Do you accept that your inner being is pure positive energy?
Yeah, I think I do on most levels.
This is the heart of your question. Mm-hmm. One day, a woman said to us, Abraham, I'm afraid to go across the Bay Bridges in California. She said, I used to go across them all the time, and now I'm afraid. I want to lie on the floorboards of the car. What's happened to me? Why am I afraid? Well, there had been an earthquake and some bridges had fallen down, but that wasn't the reason that she was feeling that. We said, well, you are picking up on thought forms. She didn't like the idea of that. And we said, well, people cross the bridge, and some of them are afraid because they're aware that the bridges were unstable not long ago. But the question is, what is going on within you that is activated within you, something that is causing you to pick up on that? And she knew right away. Her neighbor had been burglarized. She'd been attending these neighborhood meetings, and they were trying to decide whether to put bars on their windows or get a watchman to walk around or put up gates. So that vulnerability had been activated within her about another subject. And now she's going across the bridge with new activated vulnerability and picking up on the thought forms of others who had felt that way. And so we don't want you to feel vulnerable to thought forms any more than we want you to feel vulnerable to the airlines destroying your luggage. But it's sort of kind of the same thing. Whatever you've got going on vibrationally is what you're picking up on. So if your intention is to be of assistance to others, and you know that they have an inner being who is wanting to express to them, and you know that they are pure positive energy, and in that knowing, so your valve is wide open, then what you're expressing will be from that vantage point. Because, you see, the receiving mode, this is an important thing. Just like you can tune your radio dial to any station, you can tune your receptive mode to whatever. You can tune it to your source energy vantage point. You can tune it to some other vantage point. And sometimes you tune it to the thoughts that the person is thinking who's right there with you. Sometimes you're getting it right out of their awareness, or right out of their fear, or right out of their belief. And so that's why you want to know, who are you? You want us to give you some reason to trust us. And we want you to know, to believe enough in your own well-being that when something feels good to you, it is. And if something feels off to you, it is. And then don't spend your time trying to figure out why it's off. Just get yourself into that receptive mode where you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, so that the impulses that you're receiving feel good to you. And then watch the results of what happens. Sometimes people are more receptive, but always, if we were standing in your physical shoes, our intention would be not to be the reader for them. We would want to show them that there's something to read and help them to understand what their best state of mind is to be the receiver of that, and then encourage them toward their own reception, because that's the only place that true satisfaction will come from for them.
And how can I do that better than how I am doing that? How can I, because I'm aware of that, like not wanting to be the one handing out the $100 bills, is there a better way than how I'm doing it that I can do better?
What you're doing is really good. you might think of yourself as someone who's priming the pump. It's really something that this many people in this many cities are willing to come and listen to us express about laws that you can't really see, and about energy that is not really visible to you, and about a vortex, and that you're willing to pay attention and find the vibrational place so that manifestations can then support what you've come to know. It's a nice thing, but we're really out here on the leading edge, and the majority of people on this planet are not ready for this conversation, but they are ready to know that there's something else out there, and maybe you provide that for them, and they are ready to believe just a little bit that somebody is aware of them and loving them that they weren't thinking about. They are wanting some relief about something or some satisfaction about something. Just be sure that you understand that you are the bridge, but not the permanent structure through which it all flows. And take care of yourself. Meaning, when you get depleted, when you're exhausted, then you weren't in the receiving mode, because if you'd been in the receiving mode, you had been also being replenished. And so if you're getting tired and weary, and you might start out really in the receptive mode, but after a little while of bumping up against all of that mixture of energy and noticing it or observing it, you see, it's not different than walking through the world and listening to television or watching what's going on. You can't focus upon that many things that aren't the way you want them to be without it setting something up in your vibration that makes you less receptive to this and more receptive to that. Helpful?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So can I ask another question?
Yeah.
When I see, when I said, tell me about you, and you said, I'm you, right?
So what do you see?
To me, that's what I see.
What?
I see like so many zomos.
So you can tell that Abraham is a collective consciousness.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's what I see. And I, when I'm in sessions with people, I see things, and I get visions of things. And so, where is that? Like, why? It's it's so not tangible. It's in my mind and in my head. And sometimes I'll draw pictures of what I'm seeing. But
so consider this. So you accept the reality of this vortex. And it hasn't come out where they can see it because they're not in the receptive mode. But as you tune into them, sometimes you tune into that. Sometimes you tune in to what is going to be their future experience in terms of manifestation, but it's their now experience in terms of vibration. And that's the only question that you want to ask yourself is, I want to tune in to the now vibration of their now source energy. And sometimes you get to peek into their vortex. And so you can describe things that are coming. You're translating vibration into visual. But don't you want to be ready 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 to be ready? And don't you want them to too? And can you see how sometimes you might see something that they're not ready for? And how do you know they're not ready for it? Because they're not seeing it. It's not happening in their experience. But then you tell them about it because you're ready to see it. Does that help them? Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. And you'll get better and better at knowing what is beneficial to them. But what we really want to teach everyone is that you're all an extension of source energy, and you all have source energy at your fingertips, and you all have a vortex, and you are all in varying degrees on varying subjects of being ready to realize it. And the whole point of all of this, it's not this big mysterious thing that you're sort of kind of making it out to be, because the whole point of all of it is to have your hands in the clay and enjoy the unfolding of things. The deliciousness of living some life that causes you to ask for something beyond where you are, and then to discover the vibrational habit that puts you in closer and closer relationship to it, so that you're consciously aware that you are by the way you feel, and then you get to witness the improvement of your experiences as impulses come to you. We didn't talk about this yet today, but when you quiet your mind in meditation, and so you're in that place where maybe you're receiving impulses to move, maybe you're receiving some soft and gentle impulses like that, and then a thought occurs to you, that thought that occurs to you came right out of your vortex. And the fact that you're thinking this thought means that you were receptive to it. And the more you do it, the better you will get at that, you see. And so if you will just think for a little while as you're settling into this receptive mode that you are a receiver, and Don't try to force what you're receiving, and don't work too hard, because sometimes you'll receive something and then you'll want to speak a little bit about it, and then they'll tell you sort of, and then off it goes in a different way. Just let yourself receive and let it come from the clarity of that. And sometimes they'll even begin to receive in the process of you sort of shining a spotlight on all of that.